Did you know there's a bat so big that people sometimes mistake it for a small dog with wings? It's called the flying fox. And in this video, we're going to explore 10 amazing facts about this incredible animal. Curious already? Stick around till the end, you're going to see flying foxes in a totally new way. Fact number 1. Flying foxes are the largest bats in the world. When most people think of bats, they picture small, mouse-sized creatures fluttering around streetlights. But flying foxes can have wingspans of up to 1.7 meters, that's nearly 6 feet across. Some of the biggest species, like the giant golden-crowned flying fox, are heavier than a bag of sugar and have wings as wide as a tall person is high. Imagine looking up and seeing a silhouette gliding overhead that's almost as wide as a door. That's not a bird, not an eagle, it's a bat. Despite their size, their flight is surprisingly graceful. They don't flap frantically. They glide, they coast on air currents, and they move with a slow, deliberate wing beat that makes them look almost like living kites. Fact number 2. Unlike many bats, flying foxes don't use echolocation, MOS. People think all bats navigate with high-pitched sounds and sonar, but flying foxes are different. They rely on their incredible eyesight and their keen sense of smell to find their way and to locate food. Their large forward-facing eyes work well even in low light, letting them see shapes and movements around dusk and dawn. Their vision is often compared to that of cat sharp, enough to spot fruit and flowers from a distance. This means flying foxes are mostly active during twilight and nighttime, but they are not blind at all. In fact, they see very well. Next time someone says blind as a bat, you'll know at least one group of bats that totally ruins that saying. Fact number 3. Flying foxes are gentle fruit lovers. Their diet is made up mostly of fruit, nectar, and pollen. No blood, no insects, no horror movie stuff, just plant-based goodness. They love things like figs, mangoes, bananas, and the nectar from flowering trees. When they feed, they often squeeze the juice out of fruit and spit out the pulp, which might sound messy, but it actually helps spread seeds. They are sometimes called megabats, not just because of their size, but also because of the huge role they play in their ecosystems. They're more like giant airborne gardeners than spooky creatures of the night. So while they hang upside down and look a little intimidating, they're actually closer to being vegan sky foxes than anything out of a nightmare. Fact number 4. They are crucial for forests and rainforests to survive. Flying foxes are one of nature's most important seed dispersers. They travel from tree to tree, they eat fruit in one place and drop seeds in another, sometimes many kilometers away. This helps forests regenerate, especially after storms, fires, or logging. They also pollinate flowering trees by brushing their faces and fur against the flowers as they drink nectar, then carrying pollen to the next tree. Some tree species rely heavily on flying foxes to reproduce. Without these bats, fewer seeds would be spread, fewer trees would grow, and entire ecosystems could slowly decline. So, the next time you see a lush tropical forest, remember, there's a good chance flying foxes helped plant a lot of those trees. Fact number 5. Flying foxes are highly social and live in enormous colonies. They don't like to hang out alone. Instead, they gather by the hundreds, thousands, and sometimes even tens of thousands in roosts called camps. During the day, these camps can be incredibly noisy bats, squabbling over branches, grooming each other, flapping their wings to cool off, and constantly rearranging their positions. If you walked under a flying fox camp, you'd see trees absolutely covered in upside-down silhouettes. These large groups offer protection, easier access to mates, and a way to share information about where the best feeding spots are. But there's a downside too. When their roosting trees are disturbed or cut down, entire colonies are forced to move, which can be very stressful and dangerous for them. Fact number 6. Flying foxes are surprisingly intelligent. Their brains are relatively large for their body size, and they show behaviors that suggest strong memory and problem-solving abilities. They can remember the locations of fruiting trees over large distances and return to them when the fruit is in season again. They also use a range of vocalizations, different squeaks, squawks, and chatter to communicate with each other. Some calls seem to be used for warning others, some for arguing over space, and some for interactions between mothers and their pups. They recognize individuals, form social bonds, and show complex behaviors that go far beyond simple instincts. They're not just flying on autopilot through the night. They're making choices, navigating landscapes, and interacting with each other in surprisingly sophisticated ways. Fact number 7. Many flying fox species are threatened, and they're often misunderstood. In some places, their habitats are being destroyed by deforestation and urban expansion. Roosting trees are cut down, feeding trees are removed, and traditional forest areas are replaced with farms or cities. On top of this, flying foxes are sometimes hunted or persecuted because people worry about crop damage or disease, even when the actual risk is small or manageable. The tragic part is that while they're being pushed away, the ecosystems they support are also suffering. By losing flying foxes, we risk losing the very animals that help keep forests healthy and resilient. Conservation efforts around the world are trying to protect them. But a big part of that work is simply changing how people think about bats, seeing them as helpers, not villains. Fact number 8. They are champion long-distance flyers. Flying foxes can travel huge distances in a single night in search of food. Some individuals have been tracked flying over 50, 60, or even more kilometers from their roosts before returning by dawn. Their wings are perfectly designed for endurance, with long, narrow shapes that allow them to glide and soar rather than constantly flap. This ability to travel far is exactly what makes them so good at spreading seeds over large areas. A tree that drops its seeds under its own branches doesn't spread very far, but when a flying fox eats that fruit and flies tens of kilometers away, suddenly that tree's offspring have a chance to grow in a completely new place. In a way, flying foxes are like the delivery service of the forest, transporting tiny packages of life across the landscape. Fact number 9. Flying fox mothers are incredibly devoted parents. Baby flying foxes, called pups, are born quite large compared to their mother's size and need a lot of care. For the first weeks of life, the pup clings tightly to its mother's belly, even when she flies out at night to feed. Imagine carrying a baby with you every time you go out for dinner while flying. As the pup grows heavier, the mother will leave it tucked safely in the roost when she goes off to forage, but she returns to nurse it and keep it warm. Mothers wrap their wings around their pups like blankets, grooming them and keeping them safe from falls and predators. This strong bond and long period of care help the pups learn how to be a bat, how to climb, hang, move, and eventually fly on their own. And finally, fact number 10. Despite their name, flying foxes aren't foxes at all. They got their name because their faces look strikingly similar to foxes or small dogs, with pointed snouts, large eyes, and alert, expressive faces. When you see a close-up of a flying fox, it doesn't look like the classic scary bat at all. Instead, it might remind you of a sleepy little puppy wrapped in wings. Scientifically, however, they're firmly in the bat family, part of a group known as fruit bats or megabats. The name flying fox is really more about appearance than genetics, but it's a name that has stuck. It perfectly captures their fox-like charm in the sky. Now that you've heard these 10 incredible facts, how do you feel about flying foxes? From their giant wingspans and impressive night flights to their role as forest gardeners and devoted mothers, these animals are so much more than spooky silhouettes in the dark. VR. They are vital to the health of forests, fascinating in their behavior, and surprisingly gentle in their daily lives. If this video changed how you see bats, especially flying foxes, go ahead and give it a like. And if you want more wildlife stories and deep dives into amazing animals, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Share this with someone who thinks bats are scary, and see if these facts help them see flying foxes in a new light. Thanks for watching, and remember, sometimes, the creatures that look the strangest are the ones our planet needs the most.